And you're listening to Our Community. Susie Thomas here with you, along with Sarah Kropf and Michelle Humble from Tikva Hands of Hope. And you had just started to tell us a little bit about some pretty exciting things happening in the lives of the students that you work with.
Mm-hmm. So at Tikva, we have a time after they get off the bus, they eat snack, and then they go to chapel. And chapel is a time for us to really try our best to instill in them good character. We say character because we know that the Bible is very important, but we also know it's not to everyone. And we want to do our best to provide them with things that are going to apply to their life and not just stories. And so we've been studying a different virtue or character trait every month. And this month has been initiative, seeing what needs to be done and doing it. And we had a really rough start to our week last week. A lot of our students were just really dealing with some anger towards one another, towards me, towards anyone that they came in contact with. And we had some fist fights, we had some yelling matches, and it was just one of those days. And at the end of chapel, we always have a time of prayer, and we always ask the students if there's something we can be thanking God for, and if there's something we can be asking God for. Mm-hmm. And most of the interactions that were difficult were during chapel. We had a lot of kids fighting, and so
during chapel.
Okay. It was just one of those days.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I had those days. And so when you have 50 kids in one room at the same time, it's kind of a recipe for that. So we had done our best to kind of maintain a calm during chapel. And at the end of that time, our leader who was leading that time asked for what we can thank God for. And we kind of looked at each other and went, well, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be very quiet. The students probably aren't even tracking with us right now. And we had a little boy raise his hand. He goes, well, Miss Carla, we can be thankful that God sent Jesus to die for our sins so that we can live forever with him. I mean, he totally...
The gospel right there spelled out.
He totally just gave us the gospel. And we were like about in tears because we had really felt like we were just useless that day. But you just never know what God is going to use in a student's life. And he had been paying attention, and he knew that was truth and that, God cared so much about him. And all of the other students suddenly got quiet, and they looked and they go, yeah, we should be really thankful. And so it was just a really neat thing to watch unfold in front of our very eyes.
Wow. It reminds me of the disciples out fishing all night and not catching anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then suddenly, you throw your net in the other side and, we got okay. They were there. It was there. And it was there underneath, even though it wasn't showing
exactly
to you.
Yeah. Even though it wasn't as obvious to us in that moment, it was there and it was growing and God was working.
One of the challenges I'm sure you face is the fact that you are speaking to a wide range of ages all at once. Mm-hmm. And how do you do that?
We have really adjusted our programming to try to solve that exact issue. When we first started, we did chapel all together every day. And since then, we have developed a procedure where we start all together on Tuesday, and then we break into small groups for the rest of the week. So that way, students can get individualized attention. We can ask questions that are more appropriate for them where they're at. So as a 4th and 5th grade team leader, on Thursdays during my small group time, we get to talk about how they are doing at school with bullying or how they are doing with home life. And it's more age appropriate to ask those things. And so it's definitely something we've been working on, and we are just finding our niche, just in time to probably have to change again. But we are always willing to do what's best for our students. So.
We're speaking with Sarah Kropf and Michelle Humble from Tikva Hands of Hope, and that you bring up a very interesting topic because children today are dealing with more bullying because there's better equipment. There's cyberbullying.
Mm-hmm.
Bullies are very sophisticated now. It's not just a playground beat you up bully. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of bullying. Students are dealing with tough academics and all the things that students deal with, and then you are adding a layer of poverty on top of that. What do you how do you begin to address that? And what do you, let's take the topic of bullying. What do you do to address that with these children?
You know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but I think for us, the big thing is doing life with them and having realistic expectations. You know, I would never expect my students to know right out the gate what to do when they are angry with someone. That's a learned behavior. You know, when I was a kid, my mom had to teach me, you know, not to hit my brothers when they ticked me off, but to deal with it in a way that was appropriate. And we have to remember that poverty is not just not having money, it's being under-resourced. And a resource that they don't have is how to deal with emotions and how to deal with things that are going on inside of them. And so as we do that, we have to have our expectations at a very realistic level. I tell every one of the volunteers that walks into my room, we're not expecting silence today. We're really expecting everyone to get their homework done and to stay safe. And if those two things are accomplished, I feel like we've been successful. And anything that happens outside of that is just an added bonus. And so I think it's just remembering their kids and their kids who are under-resourced in every way.
With the location of Tikva being in, remind us again your location.
425 Cleveland Avenue, Southwest Canton.
So you're in Southwest Canton.
Yes.
And serving children K through 12, yes?
No, not
first.
K. First.
Okay, first.
Kindergartners
You
need
sound like
naps.
every principal. They keep asking me every year. I'm like,
Not
that's a
ready
whole
to
nother
take that on.
program. No.
Okay, sorry, I
No, that's
expanded
okay.
your duties there. First through 12th, and in an area where there are gangs. And if they're coming from different schools, I'm going to guess you have representative from different gangs. How do you get them to cooperate in an after-school program?
Well, it sounds kind of silly, but it's kind of a basic thing. What we tell our kids, and we would never tell kids not to fight someone if they're out on the street by themselves. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but when we tell
unrealistic.
and it takes the relationship. But I think after about a couple months when they start trusting us, what we tell them is, you know what, while you're here, we want to make it safe for all of us, so you don't have to fight. Come and tell one of us adults, and we'll handle it. It takes a while, though, for them to trust any of us. But we had a volunteer last year tell them, you should never fight. And I don't agree with fighting either, but I also don't live on the streets where they do. Right. So I would never, ever assume to say, when you're out there walking, I wouldn't do that. But
it's complicated,
don't defend yourself.
It is complicated.
Yeah.
So we just try to reassure them that when they're here, it's safe. And
they don't have to worry about it.
They don't have to worry about it, because they do have to worry about it when they're walking home or walking home from school. But we want them to be safe there. And it's just the way we build our relationship with them that they start to trust us enough that they feel safe. And that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
And this may sound silly, but I think we also kind of, in a way, create our own gangs. We divide the students up into teams when they're at Tikva, and we try our very best to encourage a team-like feel, that they are rooting for each other and supporting one another. And it doesn't matter where they live or what school they go to, if they're on the same team at Tikva, they are to be supportive of each other. And so we kind of create our own atmosphere of camaraderie.
Of a smaller group.
Yeah, that we kind of hope trumps the camaraderie that they find on the street.
Well, and then that leads to my next question. Do you find that students who might belong to different gangs, once they're under that umbrella and that safe space of Tikva, perhaps put on the same team, does that start to open up avenues for them to see each other as people and not as the name on the back of their jacket?
We hope that it does. Truth be told, we don't get many windows into that life on the street. As much as we really try to be present with the family, it's hard to know what's going on at home. But we do know that while they're at Tikva, we see a development from the beginning of the year to the end, where when they first come in, everybody's an enemy. And by the end of the year, we have friendships. And so it's neat. It does take time. We're 4 weeks in and we still don't quite see that developing yet, but we know that by the end of the year, that's the expectation.
Because you've seen it before.
We have.
Seen it work.
We have.
Funding and resources and sponsorship, and what can people do to come alongside and help you with this amazing organization?
Well, we started a program last spring, sponsorship, similar to Compassion, obviously not that big. We would like to sponsor our children $50 to $100 a month, which was what would cost a whole year to be in our program. And the cool part about sponsorship in Tikva is that people that sponsor our children can come down, have dinner with them, meet them, have a relationship, volunteer. And all our kids get pretty excited when they're sponsored because they get to write them a letter twice or three times a year. They get our newsletter so they know what's going on. But it's been kind of fun to watch it evolve. We've only got like 10 kids sponsored right now, but it's really going good because the people that sponsor our students love to come to Canton. It's not like they have to spend $6,000 on a flight somewhere. They can come on down and meet them and have dinner with them. So that's one of our programs that we're starting.
Sponsorship is one of the, I'd like to say, like 3 different ways that you can give financially. Obviously, we accept, one-time donations. Those are just as important as a monthly commitment. But we also accept monthly commitments outside of that $50 to $100 range, either below or over. We know that, times are not easy for many people, but whatever is convenient to give, we will obviously take. And if money is something that you can't do, we've mentioned before volunteering and how important that is. And honestly, that's almost just as important as a financial donation, volunteering your time or your energies to cook a meal for us. And once our teams who cook meals get on a schedule, it becomes something they look forward to. And then lastly, on our website, we also have a wish list. I know some groups really like to donate stuff. I mean, who doesn't like to go to stores and go shopping for people? And so, we often update that wish list and we put it on our Facebook page. We're currently in the market for Chromebooks because our students have a lot of reading programs that they're missing out on without computers. So.
Oh, brilliant. Did you find a specific challenge when Canton City Schools went into a dress code, for example, and making sure that students were able to go to school?
We have it would be biannual, or we have twice a year we have a clothing boutique. And unfortunately, it just was not quick enough this year to catch the dress code changes. But our next one is coming up. And so anybody who wants to donate clothing towards the boutique may do so at our location.
Help us remember what's appropriate in case someone's out at Target or something wants to pick something up.
We just ran into this. One of our students was running out of pants. So we wanted to buy some pants and we bought leggings, and then we remembered leggings is one of those things they're no longer allowed to wear. So please do not purchase leggings. Basically, business casual, I believe, is the goal that McKinley was going for.
What are you not allowed to buy anymore?
You are definitely not allowed to purchase leggings, tank tops. Anything with a graphic, I believe they're no longer allowed to wear. The pants need to be up on the student's bottom, so pants that are appropriately sized and not overly baggy.
Even no sports team, no sports
I believe
anything?
There's no sports teams. I think they have special days where they're allowed to wear those, but they're not consistently. So business casual, anything you'd wear to the workplace.
And you would say, my goodness, it's so difficult to keep our own children. You know how fast they grow. So I would say several times a year, the same child needs new clothes, correct?
Exactly. They grow so fast.
And every possible age group.
Yes, even adults.
Sarah, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Our Community. We're speaking with Tikva, Hands of Help, and website real quickly.
www.tikva.org.
Perfect. This is Our Community.